I was diagnosed as a child, so I've lived with the diagnosis for over 30 years at this point, and I really struggled.
How often do you find it difficult to finish something? To me, quite a bit. I was a C and D student in school for most of the time. A diagnosis is certainly helpful as a means to an ends.
I feel like we have started to cultivate a society that creates the conditions for a lot of these symptoms to appear more frequently in people's lives. Hyper-distractibility, overstimulus. Personally, I think that ADHD is kind of becoming an umbrella term for these symptoms that are largely caused by us trying to navigate an environment we weren't designed for.
Hi, I'm Ryder Carroll, author of the book, The Bullet Journal Method, and today I'm going to be talking with Nir Ayal, the best-selling author of the books Hooked and Indistractable. Now, you may know one of our books, but what you may not know about us is that both of us have been diagnosed with ADHD, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. What it's like growing up being distractible and struggling to focus. One thing I want to be really clear about, though, is that neither Nir nor myself are experts in ADHD. What we're going to talk about are our own opinions and our own experiences, which may not at all be representative of other people who share the same diagnosis. So if you struggle from ADHD, or somebody you care about struggles with ADHD, or you just struggle to get things done or have challenges focusing, I think that this could be a really valuable interview for you. Let's dive in.
I learned on this trip that you've recently been diagnosed with ADHD. Does that come as a surprise to you?
It doesn't come as a surprise because of how easy it was to get an ADHD diagnosis. You get a survey. How often do you find it difficult to finish something? To me, quite a bit. But compared to who? So I was surprised that it wasn't more rigorous. It reinforced that if it's something you're looking for, it's incredibly easy to get a diagnosis, which then prompts the question, is it overdiagnosed?
I was diagnosed as a child, so I've lived with the diagnosis for over 30 years at this point. There weren't a lot of medications or resources available at the time, and in my case, it felt kind of severe. I went to a school where I was in the same cohort of kids, which was kindergarten through 12th grade. And to me, there was a very clear distinction between my own behavior and their behavior. So it's really black and white. Like I had like a control group of kids, right? And that was in some ways really devastating to see other kids having to find time in school and me being like constantly in detention. And I stayed behind. I really struggled, which is kind of why I think this conversation is really interesting. I did take medication for a while after I got diagnosed, and the medication changed my behavior. Definitely. Like I definitely focused more. I became the top of my class for a couple of years from being like the worst to the best. So there was definitely something going on there. In college, I got to focus on things that I actually cared about, which I think was like another myth. Like people with ADHD have no ability to focus. And it became very clear to me as I got older, if I'm able to focus on things I care about, I have more focus than most people I've ever known. But over time, especially with the work that I do now, I see people reporting the same experience that I had as a kid. I feel like we have started to cultivate a society that creates the conditions for a lot of these symptoms to appear more frequently in people's lives. Hyper-distractibility, overstimulus, artificial conditions for being that we weren't designed for. And the outcome of that, the output of that, looks very much like what we consider ADHD.
You're not on medication anymore, if you don't mind me asking. Interesting. So I'm guessing that the work you've done with the bullet journal was in response to that. I remember you actually, your very first blog post was, this is my ADHD solution in a way, right?
Yeah, I kind of had to like sneakily craft my own tools. You were never a razor focused person in general. Is that right?
I wrote the book because I was crazy distracted. I was a C and D student in school for most of the time until I found something I really liked, and then I got into it. The thing that was most helpful was the agency you get from designing a system that works for you. Like once you feel, for my brain, this works for me, that is incredibly empowering. Did you get that same experience of designing the bullet journal method? Was that palpable at all, that sense of agency?
I think the honest answer is I designed it out of desperation. When you're in like special ed, which I was, you know, and like summer school and stuff, you just figure that you are not good for much. Like you just don't get it. And then more so because people had in many ways given up on my potential or didn't realize it at all, I realized, wait, if I want to make anything out of my life, I'm going to have to figure this out.
Like every time I've written a book, like you mentioned how people think, oh, you must be super focused. That's why you were able to develop the bullet journal. And the same with me with Indistractable. No, it's because I had this problem and other books it didn't work for me. So I had to invent my own process, which is something we both did.
So like a lot of people with ADHD, like myself, at first hear this thing and like, what do I do with this diagnosis? As a kid, for me, it was really validating because I just thought something was super wrong with me and
Yeah.
nobody got me. And all of a sudden I got this label, which was helpful at the time because there was actually something there. I wasn't making it up. There was something, and it felt very validating. I want to clearly state that this is a vast generalization, but I see over and over again that people get this diagnosis of ADHD and they're like, my life is over. Like, how can I talk to my family anymore? Like, something's horribly wrong with me. What I would like to invite people to consider is that now you just have a little bit more information. It shouldn't be something that disempowers you.
Right. I heard somebody say, and I wish I could quote them properly, but something around how a diagnosis is the map to get through the symptoms. You are not the map. You are the user of the map. You are not the map.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really powerful. Like, a diagnosis is certainly helpful as a means to an ends.
I did not listen to people around me about what this diagnosis meant for me, right? It means you're not going to be this, you can't do this and everything. It's just like,
Did you hear that kind of message?
yeah, for sure. I mean, I heard it even before the diagnosis. I think that might be where a lot of the stigma comes from.
Right.
It's like, you're slow, you don't get it, you can't do this, you can't focus, you can't. And it's like, yes, I struggle with things. I'm not going to deny that. But as you said, I was able to look at that directly. I'm like, what is that going to mean for me? And what it means is that there's some places where I'm going to have to put in a little bit more effort than the average person, whatever that means. If anything, my diagnosis was very helpful in helping me become the person that I am.
Do you ever have that little voice in your head that says, that's my ADHD?
I would say that I still very much have a very strong inner critic that was born through struggling with the condition. When you start to act differently from other kids, something inside you starts being very critical. And I think that until very recently, that critical voice is there trying to help you survive.
Yeah.
Right? Like, see, you didn't do this, see, you didn't do this. It's like this tough love machine that is trying to help you pay attention to something. But at some point in your life, that burns you out. There's a sense that, like, if you have a learning disability, that's it, right? But over the years, I also realized there is such a thing as a teaching disability. There are teachers
Yes.
are
I
just
love that.
like, they're
Oh,
not
that's so
good
good.
at what they do.
I've never heard that before. How come we never talk about that, right?
I heard once from one of my teachers, actually my meditation teachers, like, the job of a teacher is to believe in their students. That is an unbelievable gift to give a student.
I think we can move to a model where we're coming back to the roots of education. We are all naturally curious. And it was really important to me that for my daughter, that she become, my favorite word in the English language, an autodidact. An autodidact is someone who teaches themselves. So I actually think that is the most important skill of this century. Public education is what, 150 years old? Horace Mann, right? Like, that's not that old. And yet we think that that's the way it's always been and always the way it must be. But what was there around before Sage on a stage, blah, 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 in front of 35 kids? We had tutors. We had individualized, personalized education. We had a tutor who came over and said, what do you want to learn today? Okay, we're going to do a play, or we're going to draw, we're going to make something together. We're going to learn in the process of personalized education. Well, that's what AI could give us. So I'm really hoping that maybe this is the last generation that has to suffer through this very narrow-minded way of teaching.
In order to bring up an autodidact, you have to create the conditions for somebody to trust their curiosity. And I think that that's something that schools risk ruining in kids, right? Especially if they're neurodivergent or something, it's like their curiosity does not match the curriculum. But I think it's really highly underrated for people to actually prioritize their curiosity. I'm not saying follow your passion, but like really paying very close attention to what you naturally pay attention to when you remove distractions and coping mechanisms.
Why do you say don't follow your passion?
Personally, I feel like you don't have a passion until you're actually actively doing it, right? I think you have an interest. I think you might be voraciously interested in something, but like, I thought I had a passion about something until I did it. And I realized it's either really hard or really complicated. And it's not really something. Like right now, I'm very passionate about my work, but I've earned that term. It's like, I think passion is that you keep on doing something despite how hard it gets. I think that you can have curiosity from like 0 to 10, and 10 is still not a passion. It's like when you actually start doing the thing and then it locks in and you just love to do it, that's when it actually is a passion. But I think a lot of people don't get to a place where they're actually doing the thing. They're just like very curious about something,
Mm.
or they're not.
Mm.
But when you start to get into a place where you have bills and you have to go to work and all that stuff, I've had a lot of friends who think they're passionate about yoga until the first day where they become a yoga teacher teaching somebody, and then they hate it. It's
Right.
like, I like doing yoga, I don't like teaching it. It's a curiosity. And that curiosity, I think, is essential in becoming an autodidact, which is something that's available to anyone at any time in their life. And I think that a lot of that is getting lost because of all the ways we have to numb ourselves when we feel uncomfortable.
I really like the framing of the passion is the ability, if you have the ability to say, despite the fact that this sucks, I still want to do it. And that's the stuff that I think we were made to do. If you're depressed, if you're like not feeling right, make something, right? Like if you can just make something, especially something for somebody else, that's a salve for everything, at least psychologically, at least in my experience. If I can make something for somebody else, like something tangible, that's when I feel the best. And if it's hard, all the better, right? Like that's where the craft comes from is it's hard, and yet here it is, I did it. As opposed to just consumption, which of course there's nothing wrong with some amount of consumption. It's great to, read a book, watch TV, go on social media, fine, whatever. But that can't be it, right? Then that is an escape, because we can't deal with the difficulty of creation. That's where we get into trouble. Because now we have nothing to show for it, right? We have nothing tangible that we can say, here's what I did to make the world better.
I also feel that that state of non-creation, if you will, creates a palpable sense of like underlying anxiety all the time.
Totally.
It's like,
yeah. Why is that? Why does it lead to anxiety though?
because you don't know what you're doing with your life.
Mm.
I would say a lot of people don't like their job, right? But it takes up all their energy, and then they go home and then they watch Netflix or are on their phone, and there's nothing to hold on to. There's nothing you care for. And that's why I think this cultivating of being really intentional about how to not make time, but take time. I think that's like the biggest distinction that like was a light bulb moment for me. I kept on trying to make time. It never happened. Like, I'm going to squeeze this into here. I'm going to squeeze my passion, which wasn't a passion, here, but life didn't care. Life doesn't care about my plans. So it was a very intentional approach of being like, what am I saying no to? I need to take time.
Totally.
Time cannot be made. It can only be taken. It can be taken from you or by you. And that's the choice.
In Indistractable, I talk about time boxing. That's my go-to strategy based on your values. So the first step is not, ooh, what do I need to get done? Because then you're just to-do listing. And then having some kind of constraint on your time that says exactly what you're saying of like, what am I saying no to? It's okay if I want to watch TV. It's okay if I want to watch Netflix or play a video game. Fine, no problem. But this is when I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And this is how much I'm going to do it, because I need to also be with my family, and I also need to go to the gym, and I also want to do my work and all the other stuff that's important to me based on my values.
I see a distinction between time boxing and time blocking. So one's from the outside in. That's like time blocking. Like, I am blocking my time from being taken by others. But the other one that's just as important, especially for people with ADHD, is time boxing, which is I only get this much time to work on something.
Totally.
So I'm protecting the rest of my calendar from expanding indefinitely.
That's the part of time boxing people do not understand. They think it's about, oh, that's when I have to finish something. It's not about finishing anything. Time boxing is about seeing what you can do in that period of time when you work on the thing you said you were going to work on for as long as you said you would, without distraction. That's it. That's the only goal. It's not about like, oh, well, I didn't finish the task, so does that mean I can expand? No. You're boxing it from the other stuff that you've decided not to do. So I have a weekly time box every Sunday, 8 p.m. I look at my entire calendar, but then at the end of each day, that's when I say, well, I didn't get something done here, so tomorrow maybe I'm going to budget a little bit more. But once I set it for the day, that's it. It's locked and loaded. I have to follow it. Yeah, and if you know, like, hey, I'm going to be tired and I want to scroll social media, awesome. But then there's a completely different feeling of, as you're scrolling social media, you're thinking, I'm not supposed to be doing this. I'm not supposed to be doing this. I'm not supposed to be doing this. Versus, hey, I get to scroll social media for 45 minutes. Awesome. Like, that's totally fine. And now you can set the tools to tell you, okay, that's your limit for the day. And then you hop off. One is like riddled with guilt and shame, and the other is, that's exactly what I said I'm going to do. So now that's traction versus distraction.
Kind of come full circle on all this. I guess it's important for me that people know that like none of this came easy, right? Like I continue to mess up. I continue to lose focus or be not intentional. And like, that's why I would do this work.
Yeah. But I think that's actually the life hack from this conversation. The life hack isn't bullet journal or Indistractable or any other productivity technique. I think the life hack is the agency to figure out what works out for you.
Yeah.
Right. And if it's one of our models, awesome. If it's somebody else's, great. It's probably going to be nobody's. Right. There's probably elements you could take from it, but you're always going to have to customize a certain part of it. And actually, that customization, that modification is actually how you build commitment to it. It's that IKEA effect of when I make it and tinker and build it, look what I built, right? It's customized for you because you put effort into it. This is what works for me. It's not gospel. It should be modified for your specific use case.
So like a lot of people, when they start bullet journaling, they'll start like going on Instagram and seeing all these incredibly beautiful, elaborate things, which work for some people.
Right.
But a lot of the people that it works for came to that over iterative processes. So I'm like, here's the most basic version. Try it out so you have a point of contrast to then iterate your own version. And by the end, it should be your own methodology. Give yourself permission to believe that you can solve your own challenges, and it's going to be hard, and it is possible.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's fun.
Yeah, this is great.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation between us. I know that I did. If you want to learn more about Nir's work, I've linked it down below. And if you want to learn more about how to create your own system to navigate life more meaningfully, check out this next video. Thank you for taking the time.